All right, hello and welcome everyone to Tales with Tay. Woo! I'm Tay. These are some of the tales. Not all of them, but it's just what fit in this room. And a bit of background is that this was started for my family and friends, and now I'm sharing it with you. And I have a lot of children's stories. I actually almost wrote my honors thesis on children's stories, but ended up not. I still love them. I have a lot of Halloween outfits. I was married on Halloween, fun fact. So I just felt like I wanted to share these and create a space where we share tales. And I thought that would be really fun. So that's why I'm recording these. And okay, so the first book that I'm going to read from is Madiba Magic. And this is, of course, Nelson Mandela's favorite children's stories. We love Nelson Mandela, and I love this book. So the first story that I'm going to start with is called The Enchanting Song of the Magical Bird. And this is actually an East African story, and it's about the innocence and power that children possess, and it was recorded at the beginning of the 20th century in Tanzania. And this was actually recorded by a member of the Berlin Mission Church, which is interesting, of course, but glad that we have the story. And so, yeah, we are going to read this. And at the beginning of the book here, I have a map of Africa and where all the stories, oh, there we go. Is that working? Kind of. And where all the stories come from. So, of course, this is East Africa on the eastern side, but I'm hoping that we can cover a bunch of these stories because they're all so good. And that is the reason why I'm wearing my giraffe onesie, because we're going to be doing South African children's stories. And when we move on, then I'll change my outfit. That is the plan. So let's read this first story. So, one day, a strange bird arrived in a small village that nestled among low hills. From that moment on, nothing was safe. Anything the villagers planted in the fields disappeared overnight. Every morning, there were fewer and fewer sheep and goats and chickens. Even during the day, while the people were working on the lands, the gigantic bird would come and break open their storehouses and granaries and steal from them their food supplies for the winter. The villagers were devastated. There was misery in the land. Everywhere was the sound of wailing and gnashing of teeth. No one, not even the bravest hero of the village, could get his hands on this bird. It was just too quick for them. They hardly ever saw it. They just heard the rushing of the great wings, and it came to perch in the crown of the old yellowwood tree under its thick canopy of leaves. The headman of the village tore out his hair in frustration. One day, after the bird had plundered his own livestock and winter supplies, he commanded the older men to sharpen their axes and machetes and to move as one against this bird. "Cut down the tree, that is the answer," he said. With axes and machetes ground to gleaming razor edges, the older men approached the great tree. The first blows landed heavily and bit deep into the flesh of the trunk. The tree shuddered, and from the thick tangled leaves of its crown, the strange and mysterious bird emerged. A honey-sweet song came from its throat. It reached into the hearts of the men and spoke of fabulous, far-off things that would never return. So enchanting was the sound that the machetes and axes fell, one by one, from the hands of the men. They sank to their knees and stared upwards in longing, yearning at the bird that sang for them in all its brilliantly colored splendor. The men's hands became weak, their hearts became soft. No, they thought, so beautiful a bird could never have caused such damage and destruction. And when the sun sank red in the west, they shuffled like sleepwalkers back to the headman and told him that there was nothing that they could do to harm the bird. The headman was very angry, understandably. "Then the young men of the tribe will have to help me," he said. "Let the youngsters break the power of the bird." The next morning, the young men took their gleaming axes and machetes, busied themselves, and set off for the tree. The first blows again landed heavily, biting deep into the flesh of the trunk, and just as before, the yellow canopy of the tree opened, and the strange bird appeared in all its multi-hued finery. Once again, a most wonderful melody echoed through the hills. The young men listened, enchanted, to the song that spoke to them of love and courage and of heroic deeds that awaited them. This bird cannot be bad, they thought. This bird cannot be wicked. The young men's arms became weak. The axes and machetes fell from their hands, and they knelt like the older men before them, listening in a trance to the song of the bird. When night fell, they stumbled, bewildered, back to the headman. In their ears still sounded the enchanting song of the mysterious bird. "It is impossible," said the leader of the group. "No one can withstand the magical power of this bird." The headman was furious. "Only the children remain," he said. "Children hear truly, and their eyes are clear. I will lead the children against the bird." The next morning, the headman and the children of the tribe went to the tree where the strange bird was resting. As soon as the children let the tree feel the bite of the axe, the leafy canopy opened, and the bird appeared just as before, blindingly beautiful. But the children did not look up. Their eyes stayed still on the axes and the machetes in their hands, and they chopped, chopped, chopped to the rhythm of their own music. The bird began to sing. The headman could hear that the song was beautiful beyond compare, and he could feel the weakness in his hands and in his heart. But the children's ears could hear only the dull, regular sounds of the axes and the machetes. And no matter how enchanting the bird sang, the children continued to chop, chop, chop. Eventually, the trunk creaked and cracked apart. The tree smashed to the ground, and with it fell the strange and mysterious bird. The headman found the bird where it lay, crushed to death by the weight of the branches. From everywhere the people came charging. The hardened older men and the strong younger men could not believe what the children with their thin arms had accomplished. That night, the headman declared a great feast to reward the children for what they had done. He said, "You are the only ones who hear truly and whose eyes are clear. You are the eyes and ears of our tribe." And that is the end of the story. And we have a picture here of the bird singing its bewitching song to the other members of the tribe. So I love the story. I feel like it was a great story to start on just because it reminds you of the strength that children have that sometimes adults do not. And that is the end of the first episode of Tales with Tay. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully see you on the next episode.